NBA ratings are down. Why? What is going on? Is the NBA turning off fans? What is it the league is doing? We're going to dive into this dire situation. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel and be sure to let us know your thoughts. Why do you think there may be less interest in the NBA right now compared to in seasons past? Again, let us know in the comment section. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, how you doing? And this is an interesting topic, one that I think is really, really important for the NBA moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, this is important for a lot of different reasons, and it's one way you can kind of get insight into the health of the NBA as a product, and I'm really excited about talking about it here today. So like Trevor said, post down below what you guys think about all of this. Also, make sure you get this video up to 150 likes. That's the goal for today's video. All right, let's dive in.
That's right. All right. So first and foremost, what a lot of people turn to when they hear NBA ratings are down, and this was put out by Awful Announcing, ESPN's opening doubleheader to the season, averaged 1.6 million views, down 42% from the Victor Wembanyama debut last year. And that was, you had Lakers, Wolves, Celtics, Knicks taking place that night, and viewership's down there. Bucks, Sixers, 1.7 million viewers, down from 2.5 million viewers. I'm actually surprised it was even 1.7, given the fact that so many guys sat out. No Joel Embiid, and we'll talk more about that. No Joel Embiid, no Paul George. That really took the wind out of the sails of Bucks versus 76ers for their opening. Suns, Clippers, down 49% from last year's game. And then Spurs, Mavs, a 29% decrease. And then a Friday evening game, 830,000 views, less than a college football game that was aired on ESPN2. And that was Pacers versus Knicks. Donnie, all of those numbers seem very, very dire for the NBA. Seems like, oh no, what's happening? Is the NBA in a death spiral? But I think that you have to dive a little bit deeper to fully understand what's actually happening here, because I don't think the league is in as rough of shape as what it seems like just looking at those numbers. And I guess the place to really start with all of this, it's what a lot of people go to, cord cutters. A lot of people say, well, the reason why the ratings are down, well, it's because less people are watching traditional television these days. And so it's cord cutters that are bringing the numbers down. Do you buy that? Do you think that's what it is? So many people are just relying on streaming services, Netflix and the like, and that's the problem here?
I gotta say, I don't know if you saw it, but last year there was or this year, I guess last season, there was a video of LeBron using one of the streaming sites for this. I don't know if you saw that, but
One of the illegal streams?
Yeah, he was watching basketball on a streaming site. So like that should tell you all you need to know. And when this started really taking off as a talking point again a couple of days ago, the first thing I saw and everything I saw was basically everyone I know, myself included, watches this on illegal streams. That's what everyone is saying. So I think that is a huge thing when it comes to the NBA.
Okay, so let's talk about why that is. I think you're right. And I think when you look at these numbers, you go, oh my God, people just don't care about basketball anymore. That's what is. No, it's not that people don't care about basketball. It's that people aren't watching basketball through traditional means anymore. You go and you look at the NBA's social media presence. The NBA, now I'm not saying the NBA is bigger than the NFL, because it's not. It's definitely not. But you look at the NBA on X compared to the NFL. It's not close. The NBA blows them out of the water. Same thing is true to an even greater degree on Instagram. The NBA has a stronger presence on social media online right now. The viewership tends to skew younger, and so therefore you've got fans watching through alternative means. Now, why then do we see illegal streams really becoming such a strong method for which people watch games? Is it just because they don't want to spend the money, or why are we seeing this?
I think that's the primary reason. For the longest, it was really expensive to try to get League Pass. We're going to talk about that in a second. But also, I think you could say a number of different reasons why people are mainly using these. Maybe it's economy related or different things, where they just want to watch these guys play and they simply can't. Maybe it's blackouts. There's just a bunch of reasons as to why, in my opinion. But I think that above all else, it probably is just because it was expensive or people don't want to spend what it is now. So,
well, if you remember League Pass from back in the day, it used to be a lot more. It was, and I know people complain about the quality of League Pass. It's improved, in my opinion. I use League Pass all the time. It's improved. It still needs work. There's no question. It still needs work. But look at this. The League Pass, now you can get League Pass for $160 with no commercials. Or you could do, I actually don't mind because you get to see the regional commercials. You get to see commercials from areas
Oh
that you
yeah.
normally would see. They're always kind of interesting, but you get to see League Pass with commercials for $110. Now that's not nothing. That's still a solid chunk of change, but it's not nearly what League Pass used to be. And you don't have to worry about some of the kind of wonkiness of some of the illegal streams and things of that nature, as well as, the questionable, of course, the fact that it is an illegal stream, that type of situation. But still, bottom line, yes, you have to pay some money as opposed to an illegal stream you could find for free. And so there are a lot of people who will watch using that method rather than decide to pay the $110 or whatever it is that you're going to wind up paying in order to get League Pass. So I think that's certainly part of it. But the other piece of it, and this is why, Donnie, I think a lot of people use illegal streams, it's the regional blackouts. Yeah. And again, this will diminish the overall viewership of the NBA when we're looking at how many people are using alternative methods when we're talking about illegal streams to see NBA games. But the NBA has made it so difficult to see the games. That's part of the problem here with their regional blackouts. That's made it so tough because now you've got all these regional sports networks. And if you're not a subscriber to that regional sports network, you might even still have old school cable and not be able to see your team's game because your cable service doesn't offer the regional sports network that carries your game. That has made the situation way too complicated than it should be.
Yeah, I think that is one of the primary reasons for sure for people that are interested and willing to buy League Pass, because I know a friend, right, who has had issues with this specifically, where they have had League Pass, and with League Pass, depending on where you're at, this friend lives close to the markets for the Kings, Golden State, and so unfortunately, neither of those is his favorite team. So every time his favorite team has to watch one of those guys, it's blacked out, and so League Pass, like it's basically only useful for like 40 games at that point, because there's a bunch of different factors. Maybe the game's on national TV as well. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to watch it on League Pass. So if you are subscribing to League Pass for one team, it's almost not worth it. You've got to really get the full scope of it and watch other teams play, in my opinion, to truly get full value out of it, because there's a lot of situations where you're not going to be able to watch these games being played. And so blackouts are a serious issue, to where if you don't have the subscription service for the local market or flat out cable or something like that, you're just not going to be able to watch these. And unfortunately, we've moved away from, a lot of people anyway have started to move away from, and have over the last number of years, like getting traditional cable or things like that. Yeah. So you're just not going to be able to watch these games. And so the only other alternative is something like that, or, playback or something.
Right. And that's just it, right? Like now you can't see these games because you're blacked out, but that's going to diminish and the NBA. There's only so many hoops that people are going to jump through. And let's be real, what we're talking about here, diminished viewership, we're talking about casual fans. The diehards are going to find a way to watch it. You're going to jump through those hoops and you're going to find a way to watch the game. But the casual fans, if it's, okay, you don't have the cable service anymore. All right, so then maybe you can get League Pass. Oh, no, wait, you're in market. Okay, so that means League Pass isn't going to work for you. You're going to be blacked out. What else can you do? Well, maybe the regional sports network will offer a streaming service, but then that's another fee that you have to pay. For example, check out for Southern California, you've got, if you want to watch the Lakers, Spectrum realized, oh man, there are a lot of cord cutters out there. Let's create a streaming platform specifically for the Lakers so people can watch Lakers games. Smart of them to do. But look, you've got $20 a month. It is nearly double the cost of League Pass to be able to see every team in the NBA, to watch just the Lakers. That's an added fee. So if you are a big time NBA fan and you don't have a service that covers, say in this case for the Lakers, Spectrum Sportsnet, not only would you have to pay League Pass to be able to see the other teams in the NBA, you would also have to pay for the streaming service for Spectrum to make sure that you can see the Lakers games, because you wouldn't be able to see them on League Pass. That is way too complicated of a system, way too many hoops to jump through. I look at what the MLS did with Apple Plus, and the way that works, you can go to one place and you can see every game in one spot. All of them. There's no blackouts, no nothing. You can see them all in one place. Now, obviously, different model with soccer, but the NBA has made it so difficult to see these games. That's why people are turning to illegal streams, and that's why the numbers overall are down, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that when you talk about the numbers, you could talk about a lot of different things also that aren't access to the games or
Sure.
streams or whatever it is. Like maybe people aren't interested in the current NBA as it is. I've seen people say they don't like the
Yes.
3-point shooting or the fact that it looks like all these guys are playing the same style of offense or playing the same way. To just just as an onlooker, it looks that way. Maybe they don't like some particular player. Maybe they don't like a player's politics. Maybe they don't like just a bunch of different reasons as to why people would just in general want to move away from the NBA. And in terms of those ratings that we saw, I mean, you also can apply context to some of those. Maybe stars were out of those games. Maybe there was a better matchup that should have been on, and one of these should have been flexed off if possible. There's a lot of different things that could have happened there. Like the NBA sometimes is also in the situation where they're trying to market a new player or a younger player as opposed to maybe giving that primetime slot on national television to a different player that would have garnered more viewership. So I think you could really look at these specifically and just situations like this a lot of different ways too.
Well, and I think part of it too was this year we had the highest rated World Series in a long,
Yeah.
long time since pre-pandemic. So that was certainly when we look at ESPN's Friday game, Knicks Pacers. Well, I mean, New York fans are probably watching the World Series, right? As I recall, anyway, there was a World Series game on that conflicted that Friday. So, look, there's that factor as well. You had alternatives to go watch, but I think you're onto something in that it's not just cord cutters. It's not just people are watching through illegal streams. There also is probably some diminished interest. Some of that could be LeBron James is getting older. Who's the heir apparent? Who's the guy that's taken over that's bringing in
F
eyeballs?
too, right?
Right? Yeah, Steph Curry as well. That's also a factor. Perhaps that has something to do with it. But when we talk about the on-court product, is there, and again, we're mostly talking about casual fans here because the diehards are going to be the diehards, but the casual fans, are they enamored with the product the NBA is putting on the floor? And I think one of the things that we have to consider is appointment viewing. People ask, well, why are football ratings so consistently high? Well, because I know every Sunday my team's going to play. I'm going to go watch my team every Sunday. The time might change a little bit on Sunday, but I know I'm going to set aside 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, whatever, to watch my team play on Sunday. And that's my total commitment. Whereas with the NBA, well, this week my team plays Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. Next week they might play Monday, Tuesday, then Thursday, and that's it. It's constantly shifting. And so I think it's harder to create habitual viewing with the NBA because things shift around so much. There are so many games. It's much more difficult to have appointment viewing. This is a big event that I must watch. And I think that gets compounded by, LeBron's 40. Steph's getting up there in years. Like all of those things taking away for perhaps that big feel behind the games.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That is probably a huge part of it too. And God forbid you're a fan of multiple teams trying to keep up with
Sure.
them and watch their games. I think with the NBA, what it is also is because they're so in tune with the social piece and they're not posting full games. I think there's a culture around the NBA where it's like people just are okay with just reading a box score and watching the highlights. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that exists in any sport, but I think it's extremely prevalent with the NBA where people are like, I'll just watch the highlights. It's all right. I'm busy, whatever it is. And when you, and maybe I am just like this, maybe you guys aren't watching the video, but when I know the outcome of the game, I'm not really inclined to go back and watch it either. I'll
Sure.
just kind of move on, right? So I think there's a lot of different factors, like I said earlier, that you could really attribute to these numbers being down. But I would like to also say that while these numbers are down, there's a couple things to consider. The sheer amount of volume of general NBA product on a consistent basis is extremely high. The NBA is also extremely popular, not only in social media, but globally as well. I think that that's another factor too with this. And I just think that with this, it's not like a major cause for concern or doom and gloom. I mean,
No.
obviously you'd like for the ratings to be higher. And I think it actually stands out much more to me when it is something that's more of an appointment viewing schedule, which is like the finals, right?
Mhm.
I think that that's where you have more of a concern than something like this in particular.
I think we also have to remember, as you know, tomorrow is election day. Like it's an election year.
Yeah.
There's other big national topics right now that are taking away attention. And so that is, I think, a factor here too. Again, I don't look at all of this and as you said, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all, the NBA is in big trouble. I think there's interest in the NBA. There's plenty of interest. Some of it may be diminished a little bit, but not to the degree that the numbers suggest. And I think for a variety of reasons. Now, I'll also say this though, like there's people who look at the on-court product, and especially this is casual fans, will say, well, the NBA, it's all the same now. Every single team just spreads the floor, shoots a ton of threes and layups and grifts to get to the foul line, and that's it. There's no, oh, this team's running twin towers and this team's running a motion offense or whatever. And that's what casual fans see. And that's where I think it falls on us, Donnie, and analysts to try to highlight that there is actually a lot of diversity in the NBA. Now you see a lot of teams trying to run a spread offense, doing everything they can to space the floor as much as possible. But that doesn't mean it's all threes. That's not what every team is doing. In fact, teams have very different goals for why they space the floor. And I think if you look at some of the numbers, it shows you just how wrong it is to assume that every team is hunting for threes. Look at the Boston Celtics, 53 pointers attempted per game. We've never had that before. That's insane. That's an insanely high number of threes. In fact, when you look at their field goals attempted, more than half of their field goals are threes. And people will say, well, yeah, see, everybody's just spamming threes. The Lakers, dead last, are shooting 30.5 threes. There's a 23-pointer attempted difference, and the Lakers, they spread the floor too, but for a very different purpose, to try to open up lanes to the rim. And there's a lot of other teams. The Denver Nuggets do the same thing. Do they try to space the floor? Yes. But they're doing it not so much to generate threes, but to open up opportunities at the rim. The teams are spacing the floor, but not every team is taking the same type of shot. Not every team is generating offense the same way in today's NBA. So I see people that are dismissive of the league and saying everybody does the same thing. No, they really don't. There is actually a lot of diversity in how teams are running offenses. The general concept, though, that creating space for an offense is a good thing, that is universal. What they do with that space is not. And I think that's where it gets really interesting from team to team.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. But I think that, like you said, it falls on us, but I also think it largely falls on like the commentators for the game, especially if it's a nationally televised game, because they're not trying to clue you in on what these teams are really doing. They're just providing commentary for what they're seeing. And I think that there's an opportunity there, and this is a whole different discussion, to really step up the product there. And then also with the shows that cover these games, like First Take or whatever, they're not trying to talk about that type of stuff either. And so to the people watching it and consuming these other products, you know, they're not really in tune with what these teams are doing on the court philosophically and why things look a little bit, or may look the same, but are a little bit different. So, but like I said, I think that's a greater discussion there. But regardless, I don't really think that the NBA is in a bad point at all. No. I think that we would worry more if these numbers dip, of course. But for now, I think things are going according to schedule.
Now, Donnie, let's actually, we'll keep in mind here that for us, it's actually probably a good thing that the national shows are just kind of brushing over things and just skimming the surface, because that's where we come in. That's where the independent shows, channels like this, come in and can fill in those gaps and provide the content that people are looking for there. The last thing, though, and I know this has turned off a number of viewers, it's load management. And this has been an issue for people buying tickets as well. Now, personally, if it's me and I'm looking at a game, I want to go buy tickets to a game. If I see it's the second night of a back-to-back, I'm like, nah, it's too high of a chance that the stars aren't going to play. And so I think load management too, we have to acknowledge that that's turned off viewers. I mean, look what happened with the Bucks and the Sixers game. Open up the season, the biggest move in free agency, Paul George to the 76ers, and oh no, they're sitting him. Oh no, they're sitting Joel Embiid too. Well, guess we're not watching that game now, right? So I think load management and the overall bad taste in the mouth of fans that it leaves, it also sends the wrong message, I think, about how important the regular season actually is. Load management is something that we have to acknowledge probably turned off some casual viewers, or maybe took some hardcore viewers, some diehards, and pushed them more into the casual category, because it is something that fans are not thrilled with.
Yeah, I absolutely do think that that is a big reason as to why people don't even bother tuning into some of these games, or also attending some of these games if that's the case, where, the best players or their favorite players they're just not going to see. So why even bother? Because that's a whole other thing too. Maybe they're not exactly a fan of the team. Maybe they're a player fan or something like that. And
Sure.
that's totally reasonable. And maybe, you're a fan of Embiid and he's not out there and you're just not going to watch any of the Sixers games as a result. So like I said a couple of times, I think there's a ton of reasons, even those we haven't talked about in this video, as to why people may or may not be tuning into some of these games on a nightly basis. But I think a huge reason though is just the sheer volume. They've got a
Yeah.
lot of games. They're playing consistently. It's hard to find the games. I think there's a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, it'll be something worth monitoring as the season goes on. And we'll certainly keep an eye on it. But it's an interesting topic when you look holistically at what's going on with the NBA, why viewership may be down, and then is it really, or is this just people turning to other sources to get their NBA content? But I'm really curious to see what everybody else out there thinks. So, viewers, subscribers, first of all, if you're not a subscriber, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's free. Go ahead and hit that. We'll keep you up to date on a lot of different things around the NBA. But I think this is an interesting topic to sink our teeth into. So let us know in the comment section. What do you think is the cause of this? And if you guys want to go check out our most recent video, we talk about Steph Curry trying to save part of the NBA season, and that's the All-Star game. Can he do it? And what challenges he faced with? So go check out that one right now.